Dajjal Meditation number XYZ. Let's talk about the kitchen. Upstairs, Sissy and the mother are reading cards. I'm going to give them the time to read cards and figure out what they need to figure out. In the meantime, I'll try to meditate on the complete, correct, and most incisive strategy to win the kitchen wars. Allow me to introduce myself. I am the cook. And this is my kitchen, which I painted and out of which I feed my mother. It's not its natural state, and that is a conversation I need to have with my sister. Because there's a basic rule in the house: when Sissy's here, the kitchen is hell. And me being a friendly person to heaven, I need to get the hell thing cleaned out or shipped out, basically. Heaven and hell coincide in the same space. You can be in the same place, and it can be heaven or it can be hell, and it depends plainly on what you're thinking and what you're feeling. Thoughts are affected by the environment. I'll give you for instance. My room, which is also Nanda's room, which is actually the room that I call for men, meaning women do not hold sway in this space. In this room, rules feel. In this place, men read the rules. No matters. This is a little study. There's a rule over there, I can't read it. Oh yes, the key one. The one with the back door. A place for everything and everything in its place. A good rule.
Out of reach for the transformation of societies and human beings was in those times of what we call epistemological naivete, meaning that they did not have the strong sense of objective and subjective reality which we inherit from science. So during those years of epistemological naivete, what was someone's idea about how matter behaves, what was someone's myth of how psyche behaves, could become entangled in a projective experience with material in a chemical vessel. So the processes which we call melting and crystallization and purification and calcinization processes, now well understood through a soulless molecular model of matter, were for them the birth of the red lion, the coming of the double-headed queen, the murder of the hermaphrodite dog, and so forth and so on. They had these outlandish images and outlandish vocabulary because we were trying to create powerful symbols, powerful mnemonic hooks on which to hold the details, and there are many of them, of this extremely complex worldview that, were it not for people like Carl Jung, the Swiss depth psychologist, would have remained completely inexplicable to modern people. It is not chemistry, and it is not myth-building per se, as we inherit from the Greeks. It's a very complicated amalgamation, the alchemical word, very complicated amalgamation of psyche and matter. And the reason, I think, it is so resonant with our own times is because our generation, generations of people confined within the 20th century, have, in a sense, and by an oblique path, recovered that universal medicine that the alchemist dreamed of by going, strangely enough, to some of the most aboriginal and least culturally assimilated to European and American values people in the world. Shamanism is essentially a living tradition of alchemy that is not seeking the stone, but has found the stone. These shamans, these Ibero, these Witoto, these Cubeo, notice that they have this same epistemic naivete, this inability to distinguish between subjective and objective worlds through the intercession of Newton and Descartes, that Frederick the Elector and the alchemists around him and the alchemists that preceded them through the centuries had. In other words, within the context of the alchemical vocabulary, the psychedelic experience as brought to us through plants, long in the possession of Aboriginal people, appears to be the identical phenomenon. The Jivaro shaman, the Cubeo shaman, does not use a glass retort with cycling sulfur and mercury inside it. The shamans of the Amazon have attained a sufficient sophistication to explicitly understand that the vessel of alchemical transformation is the body, and the head of the experience, this is the alchemical vessel. This is where you will encounter the three-headed dog and the queen dissolving in her bath, and the incestuous couple that combine soul and moon to produce the white essence of the panacea of the universal medicine. These are psycho-mental processes. And Jung, strangely enough, he must have been an extraordinary person, because he could approach this without psychedelics, through a very careful inspection of the dreams and the symbol-producing process of his patients. Over decades, he produced a kind of skeletal map of the psyche.
There's a fly in ointment.
In that map, doesn't fill itself in, doesn't become a living experience until we undergo what is rightly perceived as the alchemical process of dissolution. Dissolution of what? Of the lumpen prima materia of the ego. This is the shit, the tar, the coal, the dark earth of Egypt, the starting material, the loam, the manure, the night soil, the lowest matter.
Great company.
And we start with that, the ego, and dissolve it through the intercession of the spirit. And spirit is a complicated concept. It's not naive. It's phenomenologically difficult to define, but through the dissolving spirit of the plants, And the plants lift the imprisoning structures of the ego, and the ego flows out into the world. And for some people, this produces panic. Panic comes from the god Pan, whose screams caused people to go mad. Panic. For other people, it's an enormous liberation. In any case, it is an influx of material previously hidden in the unconscious, laden with symbolic meaning, and eventually not to be sustained in this acidic, dissolving, roiling, liquid state. That's part of the process. But then eventually to be recombined, coagulation, the recombining, the coagulation, coming together at a higher level, usually through the application of a process analogous to heat, but psychic heat, which drives off the dross of false assumptions and false attachments. And all of you who have been through high-dose psychedelic experiences know that it's very hard to carry stupid baggage through that keyhole. In fact, you're lucky if you just get your soul and yourself through and intact. So what we have here through the psychedelics among certain marginal populations in the 20th century, freaks of all sorts in all times and places within the 20th century, a kind of almost accidental rediscovery of these alchemical truths. Well, okay, so that's good. That's one level. We can do self-directed psychotherapy on ourselves with psychedelic substances out of plants, and we can use alchemical symbolism to guide this process, and that's all very interesting. But so what? What's so great about it? Well, I think there's one of the most famous of all alchemical axioms is as above, so below, meaning always that in every small part of reality there is a tiny reflection of the great overstructure of reality, and in the largest structures are the secrets of the smallest, and vice versa. We also have rediscovered this principle through fractal mathematics.
Tío,
Show me.
mira. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
¿Quieres la compu un rato? Tómala.
¿Me sirves un vasito con agua?
Sí,
Y me vine caminando hasta acá.
sí, andamos andando por ti.
¿No? ¿Te fue a comprar? ¿Comida?
Está bien.
Tío.
Chica, cuando está tu mamá no hay vasos. Mira, ahí hay uno.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Bueno, voy a ir a la casa.
Espérate, te doy un vaso de agua.
Mira. Este gato parece muy diabólico. No me quiere. Y soy un diabólico. ¿Firmamos?
¿Qué más?
El de la compu. Y no me filmes.
¿Hasta crees? Yo filmo lo que yo quiero en esta casa. No te chingas.
No se filme.
¿Y para qué quieres el mouse?
¿Por Porque con el mouse estoy más cómoda.
¿Sí? ¿Y por qué estás más cómoda con el mouse?
Porque sí.
Esa no es una razón válida. ¿No quieres la tablet?
No necesita la compu.
Sí, pensé dártela un rato. Un rato, dije, ¿eh? Es que voy a hacer otras cosas.
¿Puedo guardar el gato ahí? Espérate, ¿sacas el mouse? Ahí sí. Y meter al gato en tu mochila.
Pobre gato.
¿Qué pasa? ¿Qué pasa? La mochila, mi diente. ¡Al fin está viva! ¡Está viva!
Por Dios. Por todos los dioses.
¡Te cortaron los cables! Mamá, no le estoy diciendo café.
Se me ocurrió una idea.
¿Qué?
Ya vas a ver. Lo has visto en mi internet, pero nunca lo has visto en vida. Y creo que va a ser muy útil. ¿Sabes lo que es una rueda de hámster?
¿Para qué lo agarras? No. ¿Para qué lo encierras ahí?
Cuida tu hámster. Cuida con el gato. Ahí está. Si lo quieres es tuyo.
Rueda, 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 el
Pero no
hámster.
dejes al gato.
Dios, rueda, rueda, rueda.
Déjalo en el suelo si quieres. A lo mejor se va solito.
A ver.
¿Sí
¡Es
puede?
para allá! Para
A
allá.
ver, déjalo que vaya solito.
Está mareado. ¡Ay, ya me está robando! ¡No! ¿Qué es esto? ¡Ayuda! ¿Eh?
Well, in the 60s then, LSD was not sufficient, even coupled with rock
Ay, qué hámster tan estúpido eres.
brought oppression, but it brought
Mira, si es una rueda de hámster, tienes que ruedar para acá o para allá, así.
Rueda, hámster, rueda.
dissolving and recrystallizing at a higher and more angelic
Tú no ruedas.
Eso, va, arre. Ándale, rueda. No la empujes. Rueda.
Quiero que se dé caca.
spirit.
¿Qué se encontró mi otro
Life
hámster?
itself, the spirit of novelty
Pero
and sound.
sospecho que terminó en la verga de alguien.
De gato.
Sí.
Be suppressed
Ay, no sabes andar en rueda.
in any time or
No.
place.
Quiero que prenda hasta. Quiero que prenda ahora.
No me vayas a matar, ¿eh? Esa rueda lo puedo matar.
After many changes, and it's among us again. I am looking at all of you.
No sabe cómo hacerlo, eres un hámster tonto.
Represent this.
Tienes que comprar una de verdad.
Because
Sí,
it's a
¿verdad?
spirit of dissent that says
Una
we
rueda de
will
hámster,
not
¿verdad?
serve the values of materialism, the values of the ego, and the values that separate and break down the community. So here it is again. And what is different this time?
¡Qué chichicoparatos! ¡Son tontos los hámsters! Bueno, ahí está tu rueda de hámster si la quieres usar. Yo creo que está tu rueda.
Voy. ¿Qué pasó, loco?
¿Se me esconde el agua?
No. Están locos.
¿Qué quieres comer?
Ahora sí.
Germán es peligroso para las chicas.
Y ahora somos profesionales. Vamos a hacer en los Olímpicos de botellas de agua. ¿Cómo se dice?
Eso. No creo que haya un nombre para eso. Si es un nombre se llamaría Olímpico de botella de agua.
Entonces,